Hey everybody, welcome back. I know that I keep breaking my commitment that I was going to take a break here, but as 2020 has kicked off and the Space Force stuff is now out in the open, it pervades into my very existence to the point where I cannot look away. So what you're looking at in front of you now, in addition to my mug, is the Gematria of what you're seeing a lot of terms here. We've discussed a couple of in previous videos actually, and there are going to be some concepts in this video that you can catch up on if you go back and watch actually just this last series that I've been doing, starting with Space Force and the steganography with CERN, and then of course how the Super Bowl rituals and rigged NFL plays in, and this one in particular has preamble more than any to this video that I'm going to do here, because as you're seeing with the Gematria, we've been covering all sorts of different steganography in this little course, but steganography is also tied in with numerology and Gematria, of course, in a way that we've discussed in this channel, and what you're seeing here are relevant terms to this Super Bowl that we're going to dive into today. But this isn't actually how I got into NFL stuff, because again, I'm hoping and attempting to stay away from organized sports. I'm very much on the periphery, just looking into the results and what the scores are, because again, I cannot look away. I see the patterns as they relate to the Space Force and what the ritual for the NFL is all about. Because believe it or not, here's the other article, of course, I referenced from back on in that same video on the 7th. So that was going to be the video that I put out, I think it was that same day. No, it must have been this one. Yeah, it was this one. But as you see, the 17 matching up with, of course, what we're talking about in this video, and also the Boeing story here. We're going through Boeing stories from Zero Hedge. Boeing soars on rumor that Buffett's paying $5 billion. It was unsubstantiated, and in fact, on that same day, the day before, if you look at CNBC here, on that same day, excuse me, yes, on that same day, the Dow dropped 119 points, and that was with this rumor, and of course, 119, reverse of 911, it's a pretty obviously ritualistic number, which we're also going to tie to a couple other things. But I actually presumed in that video something was up with 119, and here we are on 119. We're about 10 minutes away from the NFL games starting for the day that will determine who's going to be in the Super Bowl. So hopefully I can get this video done, published out while the first game is going here, to show what I see prior to any of that transpiring. But this all ties in to this Boeing thing. Of course, the 737 that takes off and crashes with the missile. Continuing saga of the Max story. And then today, here's the kicker. This is the date. This is what I saw this morning that got me on this whole path today. Because another friggin' Boeing ritual comes out. And I saw the V steganography in it. And then that, of course, leads me down to looking at the stupid NFL stuff again. But again, the NFLs are all archetypes, signs, symbols, mind control with the stadiums, and the advertising and the thought contagions all around it. It's the perfect mechanism to hide these things that are going to be happening. So what I saw immediately with the 777X ritual, we've talked about this on the channel too, Dark Journalist's channel. I'll go to, you guys have, if you do anything, you have to watch his X series on YouTube. He is a brilliant journalist. He covers steganography as well. A little bit better production value than I've got. He's got quite the community behind him. He talks about Armand as well. Armand's involved with the X, excuse me, at the top of all this. And he has some wonderful interviews with folks that I don't have access to, of course, but he talks about the X steganography and the X files. And the X files, of course, are the UFO files. and the technology itself that's built around that. My contention is the technology with X the ether science and nature, the natural science that is the ether, which is the V steganography, or the reverse of lambda. These put together are working together for some sort of steganographic reason to the occult practices of what's happening. So we've also discussed Stephen Quast's talk basically all these last 4 videos on my site. All of these, I think I've referenced Stephen Quast's talk. It's incredibly important. I'm going to link it again as well, because it talks about all of this paradigm shifting and why 2020 is truly turning out to be year 0, guys. And what I'm claiming is happening is that the very governments to bring this all about are giving those eyes to see a codex of what's happening. So let's break this apart. Why is this V steganography? Well, we see the X very clearly at the end of this, right? And so to me, this is a signal. This X isn't the main component of whatever the spell is. The 777 is. It's the most glaring, right? The X is just the afterthought here. It's the denotation. And this denotation is a signal such that I think, it's as of right now, 119. Remember, the repo markets, the whole financial paradigm that we tied with the Glass-Steagall crisis coming apart, with the Eagles ritual in this video here too. We're talking about the game that the Seahawks beat the Eagles, and we went all into Glass-Steagall and why that matters. Remember that Glass-Steagall, that year they played in the Glass Stadium for Super Bowl 52. 52 is going to be a number that comes up several times when we go into this Gematria. 52 and its inverse, 25. 5 times 5 is 25. So you see, 5 is the V. It's the V steganography. 5 being the 5th element, the ether. V being the dielectric science. So this is all the things that the scientific platform of the deep state space programs that Stephen Quast is talking about are based around. Okay, so why am I going to this? There's a lot of threads to connect, so I hope I'm going to do a good job of kind of summarizing as we're going here. It's I gotta get a bite of my smoothie here. It's still the Rock Cleanse week, the last day. Oh, by the way, I didn't even see this. Inadvertently, I've got penta steganography on my friggin' smoothie glass, which is really funny when you think about it. For everything we're discussing here, it's just thematically perfect. So we're hitting some sort of synchronicity in the last couple days. Anyhow, as I've done with a couple of events, right? I'm going to tie this back because we've covered that on the 6th, the day prior to these stock markets coming down 119 points due to Boeing, there was another signal, right? 52, there's that number 52 again, F-35 jets, took off, and they're the lightning variants. Remember, and back then I tied lightning to the fact of Nikola Tesla's lightning paradigm, the electric universe, right? We are coursing directly into, and what powers the new propulsion technology of these new craft. This is some sort of a ceremony, I take it, not just for the World War III thing that was going on at the time, but this is less a World War III show of force I'm seeing, and more of a ceremony to unveil the new paradigm that we're going into. Remember, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, also McDonnell Douglas before they merged, and Northrop Grumman, basically. These are the big four. The big four in the industry, and of course Lockheed Martin has the star symbology. Boeing, I should get up to because Boeing's central to the story. Boeing has the Saturn steganography, right? The ring makers around Saturn that we've talked about, which created the moon by my supposition. And of course, Saturn is involved with time, 47, 20, 61, 25. Saturn is the timekeeper. If we go to this symbolism, which we referenced in the last video. And of course, I didn't point out a little of the fringe stuff around here, but you see these are very important symbols too. This is the satanic seal. Azazel is like in the book, the From Ashes of Angels, the Watchers. This is Belial. essentially. Enki, Lucifer, Saturn. This is all Belial, all representation of the Ahrimanic force, the force which controls. And as you see, they're control the Merkaba of the heart chakra, the Merkaba of the fourth sphere, the Earth. This is what the Merkaba represents, of course. And funny enough, we as humans have the Merkabic field around us. This is the field artist rendering of the magnetic field around everyone, which the Earth also shares in structure, which we've gone on at great length in previous videos when I started this channel months ago, that tie into the Earth Grid Network. And guess what? We're going to get back into the Earth Grid Network today. I got Google Earth pulled back up. There is even a reference we're going to get into because of this whole 9/11 ritual in the Super Bowl. But anyway, these are the concepts we've been dealing with, right, guys? So this is kind of what I'm walking you through here. Is a couple key points: economic collapse looming because we've got Glass-Steagall involved with this massive ritual, the credit default swaps and the derivatives. And go to Bix Weir's channel, like I was referencing yesterday, guys. He will talk your ear off about what's truly going on behind the scenes in economic reality. And I strongly suggest you look into some of the woo-woo stuff he's got going on in addition to, however incredible that you guys think this might be, it's pretty good. So we've got the economic collapse, right? We have the economic news with 119 points on January 7th, the 17th day. 17 is tied into Q. 17 was tied into the Seahawks and the CERN particle, and essentially certain type of lie around the old paradigm. I think 17, as we're getting closer and closer to this new paradigm swap, is a reference to sort of an out-of-phase view of reality, the atomists' approach, and rather than the ether scientists' approach, the mathematicians' approach versus the scientists' approach, which, so we're kind of breaking through that. I think 17 equals God, God equals 17. We revere these people as the gods, right? So these things we're breaking away from and into something else. And I think that's what these changes are signifying. And so we've got two bookends. We've got financial collapse is as a theme with the two bookends of 119 and 911, because on 911, the Glass-Steagall epic continues. 12 years after now, the financial collapse in 2008, we have great turmoil again with the repo markets coming apart, starting on September 11th. And now we have today this happening, 119, that 77X shares the same default devices, or not default devices, the navigation computer devices that fail and cause the 737 Maxes to crash, apparently. And I think that what this might include, or what this might be leading the public to, is maybe buttering them up for us to accept a new propulsion technology. Oh my gosh, our engineers are so dangerous these days. You can almost see the news headlines coming out. Our engineers are so reckless. We need new type of propulsion technology. They are mad scientists trying to create these engines that are too fast for an aging platform, right? Because this fuselage design is, friggin' 70 years old at this point, basically, right? So there's a new paradigm. We're stuck. We're totally stuck. And this might be the signal, along with this type of thing, that we're in the lightning, that we're headed in to the new paradigm, and the old paradigm is dying, and Boeing is somehow going to be taken down with it. Because I don't know, Boeing has a skunkworks program too. Is this going to be the signal for all the skunkworks programs around the United States to unveil their new tech? This is what I'm thinking. And I'm also going to show why this relates to V-steganography, guys, because that's real important. I'm going to bring the tarot cards back out to explain this next bit here, because now that we've understood, again, go back to comprehend the Glass-Steagall piece, go back to this video, and also Bix Weir's channel's got more on the finance side stuff than mine does. Though I understand it implicitly, I choose to stay away from it. There's plenty of that going on the internet, and plenty of perspective to be had there. I think this stuff's a little bit more important. I don't have time to cover it all. But where it gets real interesting is we're going to reference the Hebrew alphabet again, and we're going to add a couple of variables. Remember, we looked at the number 17 being essentially, because this looks exactly like a number 17, the letter he, or the character he in Hebrew, which is the fifth letter, V, steganography. That's the tie-in for 17 to the V steganography and what's being included from the ether tech. But today we're actually going to look into Gimel. Something we haven't looked at is Gimel, which is the third letter, and it's lambda. Very interesting, right? Because the Holy Trinity, the dielectric, the electric, and the magnetic. So that's the Trinity. And the Gimel, the lambda, just like the lambda that we've looked at several times, the lowercase one especially, it resembles uncannily. This is the Half-Life logo that also has to do with time, space, dilation. Going back to the G, remember, time. Remember that money and time are interrelated. Time money, when put in, equals 119. Star of David equals 119. This is the Merkaba structure, as we recall. This is a ritual on either awakening us or dumbing us down further. I think if I had to put my guess on it, because this stuff is happening with Stephen Quast, they're attempting to wake us up and that's what this really is. I think the they factions are fighting, of course, and I think what is supposedly, in my opinion, going to happen here is that we're going to have some sort of unveiling soon, because if you come down here to Dalet, this is the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And here is why I paint the picture of this supposition. So if this is the 7 and it's the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, we can also write 777 as 444. 444, comma X, X file, right? Denoting the X file, like dark journalists. And there's Armand's ugly mug again. So why does that matter? So here's why it matters, because there's this concept of the Lag Ba'omer, also known as the Lag La'omer, amongst the Jewish holiday celebrated on the 33rd day of the counting of Omer, which occurs on the 18th day of Iyar. So they have their separate calendar, and these are just months of the calendar. And I'm going to tie this all together with some reference to those charts here and explain a little bit what Lag Ba'omer are. And here's what's important. We've got a couple of numerological significances, right? 33rd day. 33 is highly significant to Freemasonry. 33rd degree, the 33 degrees of Freemasonry, right? 33 vertebra in the spine. It's incredibly important because of the chakra system, 33 vertebra in the spine. So these are sacred numbers that are employed all the way back then. And it says in the Omer, the Hebrew letter Lamed, or L, represents 30, and Gimel, or G, represents 3. That is because it's the third letter of the alphabet, right? And what do we have with the Packers, who are still in the playoffs, but a big G? They faced off against the Seahawks and beat them, thus beating the old Boeing space paradigm. Seahawks are in Seattle, Boeing's in Seattle. Seattle got toppled down. Is Boeing going to get toppled down as part of this next market collapse, as brought on by the G? The G being the 3, the Gimel, the Lambda, the V. All of this stuff is V steganography, guys. It's all interrelated, in fact, and it's very interesting when you're looking into this. So we're going to continue. Maybe I can zoom in here just a little bit so you guys can see this better. There we go, much better. So there's the 33, third day. The vowels conventionally added for purpose So this is gematria code determined for a numerical value, has any bearing on the real world in which we live, both in the spiritual and the physical plane of existence. You might have noticed that Lag Ba'omer is the 33rd day in the countdown, and the numerical value of the day is 444. Okay? So here we go. Here's where it starts to get cool. We got 444, remember, because this, if you're looking at the Hebrew alphabet, is 3 dalets put next to each other, which represents 4 in Hebrew. So you have 4, 4, 4. And this is represented by the character Gimel itself. So there's a relationship between 4, 4, 4 and dalet, 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 and Gimel. Dalet, dalet, dalet might equal Gimel in some way. I haven't studied numerology in Hebrew enough to know what the equivalency factors are here, but you have the letter G as represented by Gimel, which goes deeper into the riddles of the V steganography, in fact, because it's all interrelated with the lambda of the Greek ciphering system. So we've come this far. We now know 444. It's interesting that on 5 IR, more 5 V steganography, the proclamation of the State of Israel is when it was formed, right? That's an important date. But we're going to scroll down because we're only concerned with the 444 code. This is a very, I'll reference this this blog, which is a pretty cool blog I found the other day. And he's got some good stuff on here. And so Lag Bomar in Sumerian Gematria code equals Ba Omer. In Sumerian code equals 444. Another incident, right? And then down here, we have some more interesting 8 symbolism as it relates to Ronald Reagan as he's tying together. I didn't tie any of this stuff in here because it starts to doubling the number. We're not concerning ourselves too deep down the rabbit hole. We're just concerning ourselves with the 444. So I highlighted here, Ronald Reagan was made honorary 33rd degree Mason prior to leaving office as president. He was English, and well, this is not relevant to our study. He's talking, this may even be written way before this, yeah, in fact, I don't know what date this is. This was written in 2011. So the day, yeah, this isn't the year of Reagan at all, but this information is relevant. 33rd degree Mason before he left office. Masonic equals 444, English equals 444, So here's some more Gematria. The hidden one is Reagan. The hidden one, 666, right? These are all things that we've talked about in reference to the Monster Energy logo, Vav, 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 in Hebrew, 666, which includes knowledge, which includes all the knowledge we're talking here about. And of course, its in placement in the game Death Stranding that we were playing, we are still playing when I get back to it, definitely shows what is being hidden here. So Messiah equals 444, Lucifer equals 444, or 1212 in reduction, right? So here's this 12 again. And what's interesting is with the G is Aaron Rodgers is number 12, of course. I actually don't know if I've got that necessarily up here. Yeah. But once we get to the NFL stuff, we'll go a little bit deeper there. What we have to look at deeper then, we're tying the 444. We know also that it's celebrated on the 33rd day of the coming of Omer. And this day marks the Hilula celebration, interpreted by some as the anniversary of death. Death is just the end of a cycle. So Lag Ba Omer can be interpreted simply as the end of a cycle, right? I don't know what cycle that is necessarily, but of course they come down here and reaffirm, of course, the G has a numerical value of 3, just like we did on this blog. It's just a little bit more reaffirmation. The other concept is the counting of the Omer. Okay, so it's important to show that 49 days is the span at which the Omer is counted. And it begins on the first day, or in the counting of the Omer demonstrates how much a Jew desires to accept the Torah in their own life. And of course, the Torah is the book of law, and the Pentateuch, right? Let's see, Torah, Pentateuch. So the Pentateuch is included in the Torah. Penta, the first 5 books of the Bible, the Mosaic text. This is 5 steganography as well, is what I'm trying to show. The Pentateuch, accepting the Pentateuch into their life is another way you can, or the Torah, including the Pentateuch into their life. So more 5 steganography. Okay. crash course in this stuff. This is the occurring within it, the anniversary of death, Yom Hilula. As it says right here, this day marks the Hilula, right? On the 33rd day, the Hilula happens. So this is the anniversary of the death, start, end of a cycle, right? And what's interesting about this year is that if we're looking at, because it's a 49, remember this is interesting, this is a very cool numerology alignment that is not probably a coincidence, but we have a 49-day countdown starting on April 9th, 4-9. That is a incredible synchronicity if we're thinking about 2020 even inhabiting the year 0. Does this alignment on 4-9-4-9 cancel themselves out? If it were an algebra problem, 49-49 reduce both sides equals 0, 49 minus 49 equals 0. So starting on 49, that's a countdown, subtracting 49. Does the year 0 denote year 0 in the Hebrew calendar? These are the things that I wonder about the Hebrew prophecy as we're coming to fruition with them right now. Take me another before it melts. But we're talking about finding out what the Yom Hilula is this year. So 33 days later, we find ourselves on Monday, May 11th. Why is this important? Because more V steganography, guys. Why is this important? Well, let me give you a clue. We're talking about 119 and 911 being bookends to something, right? So something happened on 911 that's maybe wrapping up here, brackets. In some piece of the ritual. Not the ritual in its entirety, of course, but some piece of the ritual is locking into place. And here we have May 11th, 511, which is the inverse of 115. This is the 5th of November, guys. Remember the 5th of November, which we commemorated here way back when I, was starting to tie some of the Q concepts originally into the fabric of this whole tapestry. Now we have this tableau that we're looking into that incorporates all of this. And this is why I've built the archive like I have just this year, because I saw this all happening, and I'll admit that like a lot of this stuff with the Space Force I wouldn't have been able to find had I not had the foundation of this. But it's all net new, and it's crazy as it's coming out, because you're seeing how this is all tied into it, which is, again, why you find me making this video, because as much as I need to take a break and get on to other stuff, I cannot pull away. This is, I don't know, even though I don't have that many subscribers, very important to me. So 11/5, remember the 5th of November, the steganography of the mask of the V for Vendetta movie being the Anon movement. The Anons are Q, the 17 is all tied into this, guys. This is really deep stuff. I would really encourage you to look into my Q work, and especially, and then go back with this video to Death Stranding, like I mentioned yesterday, and read why that matters with some of this other Hebrew stuff that we're discussing. But very interesting, right? So the death of something, and is this one of these big unveil dates? Is May 11th going to have consequence to these secret space programs being made public with the Space Force? And the dying of Boeing, is the market going to collapse on that day? I don't know. I think maybe this might signify that tomorrow we're going to see. I see with the repo markets going on, anything's fair game though. So anyhow, why is this important to Ronald Reagan even? Because we're talking about 444 is equal to Ronald Reagan as well. Well, we're talking about Star Wars, Tesla, the electric paradigm, and of course Star Trek and the Borg cube that the Saturn network has us locked into the tractor beam with, literally controlling our minds through media, through propaganda, through thought contagions, through the steganography. The 5G, this is more relevant than ever right now with this ritual, guys, because of the G, right? So it's very interesting. Let's just hone in on this for a second. My favorite meme in the whole wide world. Marvel at it for what it is. Take a deep breather, because again, this is all parsimony, guys. This is all parsimony. It's all steganography. So it's just a practice of encoding secrets. This is how the occult operates. In order for spells to work on the mind, they have to be seen. So if you know how to see through them, they don't have any effect on you. These are spells. Spells. Words are spelling, or are spelled with characters. There are characters in a play. The football game is they run plays. This is all of the literature and the grammar that the elite use around everything magic. A grimoire is literally a grammar book. Grimoire is Latin for grammar book. So a dictionary is just a book of spells, fragmented, single word spells. But when you see all the steganography, when you combine symbols into it, you start to see what it all conveys and why theater, athletic theater, the NFL is, the Hollywood theater, that we look at all of the really key steganography that infects the minds with. This is all part of it. So more than anything, the government does it. And with the Strategic Defense Initiative, we have Ronald Reagan setting off in 1984, the inception of the program. Again, a ton of stuff is happening in 1984. Talked about the Theranos connection to that. I've talked about the Apple connection to Theranos, how 1984 is going to relate in the upcoming year. There's a Wonder Woman movie coming out. 1984, whatever the heck, right? 1984, Orwell. So there's a significant year in 1984 when all of these things are coming to fruition, and the Strategic Events Initiative was supposed to look something like this, right?
Here, an artist's projection of the president's vision.
Banning into space, a layered defense to protect the country from nuclear devastation.
If you guys are looking at these devices, they're laser beams and sound beam. They're beaming technology. This beaming technology, scalar wave technology. Konstantin Miles' book, which it's down there in my bookshelf. I'm not going to get it out. We've referenced it before, but Konstantin Miles' book, Scalar Waves, goes into all of this. Only utilizing this brilliant man's research to bring to fruition his death ray technology that Donald Trump probably has access to because of his uncle. Again, go watch this episode. This one's long. This last one I did is about 2 hours long, but it's heady, guys. Like it's all of the things that we're looking at that Ahriman keeps us under the thumb with. So we'll continue with this, right?
U.S. spy satellites would watch the world below, detect Soviet missiles blasting off, compute the position and speed of each missile, alert battle stations in space, on Earth.
And a lot of this is just utilizing the negative charge of the ionosphere, the repulsion, and knowing how the dielectric operates. And the deep state's been investigating this ever since the atomic days, right?
The first responders fire beams that burn through the shell of the...
Anyway, I'm skipping through this because it's all, what this is this was the concept. And popular belief was this got shelved. And the reason, and why did they call it Star Wars, right? Here's more steganography for you. It ties into the mythology of Star Wars. All the mythology that we've talked about in this video is kind of all reinforced here. And I'll show you guys a couple of files that you can find online. You can download these PDFs for yourself. These are a couple of declassified documents now, and also the 2002 United Nations Treaties and Principles of Outer Space. And this kind of starts to lay out what the rules of operation are going to be, kind of in a Star Trekian type future. The Brookings Institute published this with the Peaceful Space Activities for Human Affairs. How are we going to be, what is the etiquette going to be with the folks that are already out there, right? These things have been talked about for decades, since the 80s. And of course, the Star Wars program itself, the scalar interferometry and Soviet weaponization program. There you go, April 24th, 1984. So I encourage you guys to look through these things. These are really, I have consumed 60% of each of these documents, probably individually. I've not read all of them through. It's not really necessary. At some point, it becomes jargony, but some of this stuff that talks about the scalar wave tech and how they're likely using Nikola Tesla's patents, this is the fascinating stuff, right? I mean, it's all his technology. And it's like beam weapons, like Star Wars. It's literally Star Wars program. Look at this stuff, guys. It's really interesting. So anyway, this kind of factors in, again, to why nobody knows any of this. I've talked about this before. The channel started off with a pure theme of just breaking the mind, manipulation, and memes around everything. But this article, I would also recommend, The Manipulation of American Mind, Edward Bernays and the Birth of Public Relations. This article is also one I would go look up. These are, I cannot link these myself. I've downloaded them. These are on my computer. And so, anyhow, what does that get us to? So all of this has to do with the Super Bowl somehow, right? And the Super Bowl as one of the most massive rituals on the planet. And this is Zach Hubbard's channel, which I've referenced before, the Free to Find Truth blog. He did this video today, which was the lead up to the Super Bowl. And he was going over some of the various scenarios, as it's called, the 4 Super Bowl scenarios for the 4 teams left. Okay, and this is where my head just exploded, because I've already got all of the Boeing stuff in my head, and I just put him on in the background while I was kind of jotting some notes down, and things started to funnel through this podcast. And so what we're talking about here is the games that are going on right now, the Titans and the Chiefs and the Packers and the 49ers, okay? The Packers are apparent. We can know the Packers are part of this whole ritual in a way. The 49ers are interesting too, because they're the gold rush, the gold standard. Look at Bix Weir's work. Again, guys, the gold standard is all tied into the 49ers. And then you've got the Chiefs and the Titans. The Titans are interesting because the Titans used to be in Houston, the Houston Oilers. Right? Truly, these are the Houston Oilers, and Houston is interesting because that's the space program. That they've got Cape Canaveral, they've got Houston for NASA. So NASA's got the huge presence there. SpaceX has the huge presence there. There's the X steganography, of course, as we're saying. So there's the first connection. The Titans, though, in the Bible and in the ancient texts, these are the Nephilim, the actual giants that are existing. So here we are, the Nephilim as the offspring of Ahriman and the fallen angels, Belial, the ones that, of course, the actual entities, not ethereal gods, but like actual entities, the same one here, is subjugating, fornicating with women, creating genetic abominations, and actually becoming the Titans of old, right? Now, actually, before we get off on this, I will go back really quickly to the Hebrew alphabet, because I wanted to show you guys what I was seeing with the tarot cards. I promised that too. So, we already know, we've covered before, that the Vav of this riddle here, Vav, 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 is actually associated with the Hierophant card. The lambda is there with the lamb. The Hierophant card represents the X steganography there as well, the keys to the etheric force, which is not religiosity, which they've included behind. That's what this character signifies, is religion isn't the way to spirituality. We've got the wheel card, which signifies the Earth grid network, which is the X, and everything related to Ahriman, the force at the top here, and the other zodiac symbols. And then the devil, when they're both put together, they bind us to this reality. The Saturnian forces in this spell bind us to this paradigm. And of course, they're going to do a lot better job at it when they install the 5G network to bind us further. That's their whole goal, right? Even though this thing has its flaws. But with the new characters that we came up with today, this is also interesting for those that are interested in tarot. I tied the He to the Empress, 3. The Dalet with the Emperor, 4. And the Gimel with the High Priestess, 2. And this is interesting because the High Priestess represents the moon. Okay? And the Gimel is the most important because it's Lambda itself. And so 2 is going to be what we're going into here with, and guys, I'm not actually going to go into, I had planned on kind of reading through the descriptions of each of these cards to signify what they mean, but really we're just, for sake of time, we're just going to deal with the High Priestess and why that and what that signifies. So I'm just going to go to that. High Priestess signifies silence to find answers, intuition, introspection, knowing yourself, psychic ability and vision, remembering, seeking inner wisdom, mystery, stillness, receptivity, somebody with great inner vision and wisdom, and learning from your intuition in action and as the best course of action. And isn't that interesting that that's the 3, that's the sacred number that Nikola Tesla talks about. It's the Trinity, that's the Gimel, that's the Lambda. It's what the V steganography is occluding. And here you go. I think at the heart of it, when you solve that riddle down to its core, it's the High Priestess card. So anyhow, the High Priestess also being the signifier of the moon is something I'm gonna come back to as we're breaking apart this NFL riddle. That's what kind of got me off that track. So what it appears from my perspective, the Titans are now up 10-0 on the Chiefs. So this is as it's playing out. This is live 10-0. The Packers aren't playing until later today. But they're both of these teams are, that I see anyway, are highly instrumental with the Super Bowl ritual. They may or not even be in the Super Bowl, but they are the most instrumental teams to this ritual here, which is the collapse of the economy, the 444, the 119s and the 911s, the 511s and the 115s. These two teams are the most consequential, and I'll share with you why. Okay, so Zach's video is one I'll also link. Kind of a cool video for you guys to go watch as a preamble to all this, because this is where some of these insights that I got came from. You got to give credit to him for having his call-in show today. But what you find when you start getting into the numbers here. Oh yeah, I got to bring up Ryan Tannehill into a stat line here. And remember, Ryan Tannehill's number 17. That's the other thing too, guys. Remember, Tannehill is number 17. And he replaced number 8. The quarterback is now the backup, number 8. So, 8th sphere representations. And he's got 22 touchdowns. This is his 22 touchdowns on the season. Oh, jeez. And the 52 passing. This is funny. Didn't time that perfectly to have his 52 pass yards pop up there with all the 52s, of course, in the Gematria that we're going to go through. But what starts to get interesting is when you're tying to what the Super Bowl is, right? So the Super Bowl has 5 steganography in it itself this year, because if you're looking at the date of the Super Bowl, the date of the Super Bowl is February 2nd, 2020. You can write that 2/2/2020, in fact. So there are 4 2s factored into that date. And it's the 33rd day of the year, tying directly into, of course, the 33-day countdown. So it has synchronicity with May 11th somehow. It also has synchronicity back to the Super Bowl 52. Of course, this is Super Bowl 54, but it has synchronicity to Super Bowl 52, which was the Eagles one, which is all about the Glass-Steagall ritual, played in U.S. Bank Stadium, the Glass Stadium, the banking system, potentially falling apart, strong as glass, fragile as glass. These are all the things that you think of when related to glass, right? So when you look at it's the 33rd day of the year, leaving 333 days left in 2020, being on the 5th Sunday of 2020, more 5 V steganography, okay? This relates to Ryan Tannehill, who's born in 88, by the way, July 27th, 1988, because we need to, July 27th, woo. Is 191 days, which is, 191 is the 43rd prime number. So keep that in mind. 191 days between his last birthday and the Super Bowl, which is the 43rd prime number. So we're starting to collect a couple numbers that matter here. 25 and 52 are already in play. 22 and 33 are in play. We remember from the other videos too that the F-22 Raptor being replaced in 2012. There's another 12, Ryan Rogers, remember the 12 with the Seahawks ritual, and then you've got the 117 Nighthawk replaced in 1990, or the one that got taken down in 1999 when the year Glass-Steagall got taken down, by the way. So the Nighthawk lining up with the Seahawk, and Seahawks and Boeing and Seattle, that whole area being synonymous with aerospace, essentially, is what this is tying into. So you've got the 17, you've got the 22, you've got, of course, over here, if you look, let's just start looking. Let's look how, this is why it would seem that maybe the Super Bowl is going to be Packers versus Titans. Because on their helmets, you've got the letter T and you've got the letter G, and you see the inverse relationship. You've got the 7s and you've got the 2s. Remember the 7s on the 777? Tying in with the Dalet. So you've got 22, right? 22 is Ryan, 22 is Aaron. They're both their first names. Both of them, and then they share the 23 and 32 inversion here as well. This is interesting. Ryan Tannehill's 63, Aaron Rodgers is 63. 72, 72. 198, 189. Only the 9 and the 8 are inversed on this. Same here, 153, 135. Only the 5 and the 3 are inversed here. Okay? You're starting to see all this stuff, right? So then I'm including the Titans. There's number 20 again. You're starting to see number 20 itself. Time is 20. Saturn is in play with the ritual here. Saturn is the ruler of time. You've got the Steagles, which we're going to mention. There's the 25 with Trump and the Steagles, of course. And that's what that season was all about, was the flag, and 239. You also have Glass-Steagall down here. We didn't cover this last time. We did cover that 36 with Glass-Steagall is the triangular number for 666. Add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 all the way through 36. And your sum will be 666. 216 is interesting because this is the sum for multiplying 6 by 6 by 6. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So there is a relationship with 666 here as well. And Titans share that 216 Glass-Steagall connection. Okay. You've also got 54. This is Super Bowl 54 for Tennessee Titans. And wild card equals 74. The inversion of 47, which is, of course, if we're going to go look at the Freemason compass, this is the 47. There are 47 degrees, 23.5 plus 23.5. This compass is 47 degrees, measuring the elliptic. Of course, this is only to hide the binary orbit of Sirius. That's kind of what the G compass measures, in fact, and you're seeing why my earlier videos are starting to tie into this as well. When you go back and look at my catalog, you can go back to these even earlier videos about the Earth Grid Network and the Merkaba, which we've discussed today, and you can brief up on all that stuff. Okay, but we're starting to see how all these things play in. Remember when we had the 43rd prime number? Well, it's LIV, Super Bowl 54. When you type in LIV, it equals 43. The Titans equal 43. So does that mean, because remember, time money equals 43, the 47 is, these rituals are in play. The Oilers equals 33, so we know that the Oilers are tied again to the Titans in this capacity. To me, it just looks like it could be that, plus, when you go back and you look at and you actually just look at the Chiefs, they beat the other Houston team last week. When you go back to the divisional round, they just beat the Texans last week. And actually, here's another thing. What else is funny is the Titans and the Packers also won with the same score last week. That's interesting too. Does that mean there's a correlation there with the 28 that they won by the next? It could be. This is how it all works, guys. And wild card. So here we go. When you go back to wild card weekend, the Seahawks, of course, remember they won with the 17 score, but then you've got the 20 and the 22. So the Titans, if you go back to the wild card piece, which is 52, also tying into the reverse 52, 25. steganography. We're getting the Texans won with 22 that day too. So this is all actually factoring into where it could be that this whole Super Bowl is going. Now, again, with Ryan Tannehill being born in '88, Super Bowl again, and here's another thing for the Gematria piece is the 72s that are everywhere. So in the inverse of 72 is 27. Of course, this is the 27th problem of Euclid, of geometry. So we have geometry and Euclid that I've typed into here. There's 27 with Euclid. Of course, geometry we already discussed. There's that 36. By the way, the 63s are of Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Tannehill are the inverse of 36. And so we have actually the overall record of the NFC being 27 and the AFC being 26. Is the AFC, are the Titans going to beat the Packers this year to go and match that 27? So they're both 27 and 27 equally. It's interesting that Super Bowl 54 also with the 5 steganography, it's actually the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era because it was like the AFL and the NFL that were playing against each other earlier on in the first 4 years. So this is actually the 50th of the modern era. And so this is counting the overall, right? Where else do we? Oh, the Miami coordinates. This is where we're getting back to why the Super Bowl is tied into, of course, the 911 ritual too. Here's the inverse of the Glass-Steagall, 52, Super Bowl, 52. 20. Here are the coordinates for Miami, and of course, it is played on. Actually, this is where we're going to pull up the map. It's played at Hard Rock Stadium down here in Miami. And what I've done, this will be familiar to people, is this is the DC Parasite Network. I pulled up one of Florida Maquis' files from when he was releasing these publicly. And he's still, so remember, we're talking about the DC Parasite Network, also referenced back to in a lot of my old work here to start the channel, especially with the Death Stranding stuff. That's what the Death Stranding video game, in fact, is all about. But check this out, guys. This is too nuts. When you go click on this line and go to properties, so here it is, a straight line that I connected, and you go to measurements. Here we go. In miles, I already said it, 911 miles. Can't make it up. Right from the Pentagon. So there's your Pentagon ritual directly to Hard Rock Stadium. Okay? I may be missing things too, by the way. If you guys have anything to add, put it in the comments below. This was all done kind of haphazardly this morning when I was attempting, again, to do other things. So, anyway, another reason why it looks like the Titans may be part of a ritual to win the Super Bowl, I don't know, but because of all the recent things with the actors dying and that were in this movie. In fact, Zach does a really good job in this video of talking a lot about the Remember the Titans rituals that are happening that tie into this game as well. And then also this guy, Warren Moon, back to the priestess card that represents the moon, is a common player for all these teams, the Houston Oilers, the Minnesota Vikings, Seattle Seahawks, and Kansas City Chiefs, all who are in the playoffs this year. And the moon is inextricably tied to our 8th sphere, right? If we go down, moon inhabiting the 8th sphere in a figure 8 pattern, making it go, the motor of the 8th sphere, as it were. And it becomes apparent that him being on the Houston Oilers, which are now the Tennessee Titans, the Chiefs beat the old Houston team last week. There's something to this commonality with Warren Moon. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what else I've got to talk about here, guys. I think, there's one other alignment with the Seahawks, right? The Seahawks actually won Super Bowl 43. So if we're going back to the Gematria, and we're talking about 43 being the Titans right here, and of course 191 days ago, it's a span of 191 days between Tannehill's birthday and the Super Bowl, which is the 43rd prime number. 191. Then the 43 links up with the Titans and the Seahawks winning Super Bowl 43, which were sacrificed by the Boeing ritual, essentially, and the collapse of the economy in some capacity, to maybe, again, butter up the public. There's a dual purpose, I think, for this Boeing thing, is to butter up the public to accept new propulsion technology. What's going to happen when Boeing starts coming out with their brand new stuff? Are people going to accept it right away? That's kind of what you got to ask yourself. So anyway, continue flexing your mind. Keep this in mind, the heart chakra, break through the Saturn control grid, which is, of course, this. Get this stuff the heck out of here. And stay safe, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will probably not be back on very soon, except to hope to maybe play the rest of that freaking video game to get over. But you won't see me much between now and whenever you see me. But I'll be back here within the first quarter after some more stuff gets put off my plate. Anyway, thanks. And like, share, subscribe.